Hello, this is Diana Castro, and you've tuned into Leaders with a Mission. And today, if you are a speaker and you want to make a big impact, this show is just for you. So let me introduce you to our guest. Her name is Wendi Blum, and let me tell you a little bit about her. So her mission is to inspire 1 million heart-centered speakers, coaches, leaders, and entrepreneurs from around the world who feel called to speak, lead, and impact. She's a published author who most recently created her first anthology book called Speak, Lead, and Impact. And with you, Wendi. Hello, señorita.
Oh, gosh, Diana, I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you so much for taking the time. So let's dive in. Tell me a little bit about this book. I love the title, Speak, Lead, and Impact, which is everything that, it just makes me feel alive, all of those words. How was this process? How was this book born? Tell me everything.
Well, it's so interesting. When I left corporate just about a decade ago, I wrote a book. And because I was entering into the coaching field, I knew it would be really important to get my work and my message out into the world. So I wrote a book. And from that time, there was always something that existed inside of me that I wanted to do, but I kept putting off writing another book until now, because I don't do anything alone. And what I felt called to do was to do an anthology, which is a co-author book where everybody contributes. Those that feel called by their mission, called by impact, to make a bigger difference in the world. So it's taken a decade for this new format in a book to come alive. And so that's what it was born from timing and really connecting and listening to what is most important, really for me, and from what I hear from other speakers and coaches and leaders and entrepreneurs.
Tell me a little bit more about why coaches, why speakers, why people who are thought leaders. Why is that something that you feel attracted to?
Well, I didn't know anything about that world. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for 2 decades. And when I put my toe in, and it did not happen in a planned way, it was all by happenstance. I actually started putting inspirational messages on t-shirts. And what happened is those messages were inspiring me, and they were all based around this one question: what is your destiny? So I used to ask that question. I still do. What is your destiny? And the answer would come in the way as my destiny is to be, surrounded by people that inspire me, that empower me, that uplift me. And so I started looking for those people, and it ended up being speakers, coaches, leaders, and entrepreneurs.
That is so amazing. I'm also very attracted to people who have a message that they feel needs to be amplified. So I'm I love what you're doing because it's in such synergy to the people who I also love to be surrounded by. And you keep going back to this 10-year thing. So tell me a little bit more of that journey. How has that journey been for you, and what have you learned in the process of being your own entrepreneur in this 10-year bandwidth?
Oh, okay. And I love to give numbers to it. It was back in 2010. And in 2010 was the year that I turned 50. And that year is when I birthed that first book. The t-shirt line and putting the inspirational messages was a hobby, but people were sharing that the t-shirts were making a difference. They were putting them on. They were making them feel empowered. And I just really started to lean into personal growth. I was super hungry for it. And I discovered this whole new world. And that's where I spent a lot of time in the beginning going to conferences and meeting amazing people that were up to big things in the world. I was so curious. I was so intrigued, and coming from the pharmaceutical industry, I stumbled onto neuroplasticity and the whole idea, and this was back in 2010, that thoughts become things. I was like, that's novel. I had not heard that before. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea that you can change your life by creating a new story. And so I just started testing it out. It took 3 years before I fully left the pharmaceutical industry. When I resigned, they asked me to stay on. So I did both. I was consulting, and then I was writing, and I started speaking, and I started sharing my journey. I started meeting amazing people and becoming more and more inspired and more committed. And then I just went full on board, and then just wanted to surround myself with as many of these people that were up to big things in the world.
And how has this changed you? What has been your journey? Has it been easy? Has it been complicated? Has it every story has this, everything that is alive, in my opinion, has a wavelength. So share with us a little bit of that journey, and where is that journey taking you today?
Very difficult. So highs and lows. And one of the early universal principles that I learned about is this law of polarity, that you wouldn't know good unless there were difficult times, and you wouldn't know cold without hot and lightness without darkness. And as I was studying these philosophies, these principles that were really scientific, I knew as I was going through hard things, it probably meant on the other side was some sort of breakthrough. And what really put me on the journey of even starting to write those messages on the t-shirts and starting to ask myself, was my destiny, is because I was going through a really difficult time in my life. I was in a relationship. It was dysfunctional. I didn't think I could get out of it. It was physically and emotionally abusive relationship. I was finally able to muster up the courage after a lot of years and a lot of crying on the floor, pick myself up and to move forward in my life. And I now spin the clock up 10 years. I am married to a wonderful man for 3 years now. We've been together for 7, but there been so many ups and downs, health challenges with family members. I mean, just so many challenges along the way. And what I truly believe to be true is that the greatest struggles help us move forward and grow stronger, so that we grow the fortitude, so that we can expand our bandwidth in a way that we can step into that new version of ourselves. And a part of ourselves has to die off. And that's what I feel like happens for me. Like every couple years, it feels like the butterfly, the caterpillar shedding the skin and coming out as a new version of yourself.
It's like an upgraded version of you is manifesting.
Yeah, I think of it that iOS, of the phone, you have to keep upgrading your software. I have to keep plugging in somewhere and upgrading the software because, as you're learning more and you're shifting, then you gravitate to new things and you have to become a new person to step into them.
Wow. And what is it that you're doing now? What have you created programs? What are you currently doing to serve those who you are called to attract?
Well, in the beginning, I launched myself as a wellness coach. And then very quickly, because of my sales and marketing background, corporate, I became a business coach in the health and wellness industry. And then that morphed. I was surrounding myself with speakers and coaches. So spin the clock up to the last couple years, I had created this group of speakers and coaches that has grown to 20,000 strong. And along the way, you kind of look back and things happen slowly, but then you kick in, you hit a tipping point, and then they start to increase the momentum. And that has happened. And what I'm most passionate about now is helping other people win. And what that looks like is helping speakers and coaches expand their reach, to use their voice and share their message and share their story and get booked on more stages and use social media to make a bigger impact in the world and really share their mission and monetize their mission.
You're speaking my language, sister. It's like, preach it to the choir. I love that, because that's also what calls me forward. Amplify messages that up-level the vibration of humanity. It's to me what it's all about. So I'm just like, I feel activated by your words. I feel like we serve people that are here to make an impact. So I love it. Thank you so much for doing that.
I was so drawn to you and your work and the beautiful work that you're doing with leaders on a mission to be mission driven, impact driven, legacy driven. I truly believe that there's so much greatness inside of us, so much potential, that we have superpowers that we haven't yet to unleash or tap into. And that's what we're really called to do, is look to the right and look to the left and grab the hand of somebody that feels the same way and how do
we support, how do we lift each other up? So yes, amen to that. There's a specific question inside of this container that I love to ask people, and is, what is your personal definition of leadership as it relates to what you do, as it relates to who you serve? What is it for you?
Leadership for me is to be able to step back to a 30,000 foot view and look at the big picture, and to cultivate a vision, a collective vision where everybody wins and they're supported and they're unconditionally loved, and then there's skill building and there's celebration and there's grinding and working hard along the way. But to do that in community and do that as the collective, that for me is the umbrella of leadership that I subscribe to.
I love it. And I always say this, everything is energy. And when you pour things out, there's also an important things to pour back in. How do you feed your soul? What books, what leaders inspire you to keep embodying this movement of leading others? What is it for you?
Well, I love that question because it is so important to receive. And I didn't do that well in the beginning. So I was really
I'm pouring. It's like,
giving and depleting and crashing. And thank goodness, and not eating lunch. So I begin with the simple things of taking care of myself, making sure that I hydrate, the simple things that we can do that sometimes we cut corners on, and taking time off. I take 2 walks a day. And I spend time out in nature. That really feeds my soul.
I love to hear that.
It's Mother Earth, like just sharing her beauty and grace, with us. And you said everything's energy, and we can feel the energy that's all around us, and surround yourself with really good people and have support structure and people that you can laugh with and people that you can cry with.
Nice. And is there any books? Is there any specific things that you would say, if I would have to recommend something, this is what I would, this is something that has given me so much wisdom. What would that be?
The books that I read initially that I continue to reread, and those that I follow, are Think and Grow Rich, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, Joseph Murphy, Changed My Life, The Artist Way, Writing. The power of writing and sharing your story. And that was morning pages and journaling and all of those processes, and meditating. My beautiful soul sister, Jiwan, and Rachel Levy, the founder of Healthy Love Movement. These are all people that feed my soul, and we feed each other's soul, and so much more. I get so much from so many.
Beautiful. So tell me, just to wrap this conversation up, where can people find you?
Online, on my website. I'm also really passionate, so that's wendyblum.com, Wendy with an I. I changed the spelling of my name. Instead of why me to I am, to step into the I. And also speakersandcoaches.com. I'm really passionate about the community that we have created, and the synergy and the partnerships and collaboration, networking and relationships that have been built out of that.
Beautiful. Social media, any?
Social media everywhere on Instagram, everywhere on Wendi Blum Weiss. I'm adding Weiss. I'm adding my husband's name. So really like the WW. So it's Wendi Blum Weiss and transitioning there. But I'm Wendi Blum Weiss everywhere on all social media platforms.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my goodness. You're amazing.
Thank you. And for all of you who love to use the power of video to amplify your message and to make an impact in the world and to create legacy, I'm going to invite you to visit us at forproductions.com. I'll see you in the next one.